Who doesn't love Lord of the Rings? You know what time it is. It's time for another one box challenge. That's right, ladies and gents. We have a draft booster box of Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth. Very, very excited. This is a set we have opened up quite a bit, actually, on the channel, and is one of my favorites to crack. There are some absolutely awesome cards in this. There are plenty of legendary creatures to help us with our one box challenge here today, and I very much look forward to cracking open and seeing what we can put together. Now, we could also get, I think, maybe a couple really good cards, maybe one ring sitting inside of there, so that could help our build, certainly, and very excited. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We do this a handful of times. We've had a ton of fun cracking open some different sets and building some decks, and that's what we're doing today. We're going to open this draft booster box. We're going to see what we pull from the packs. We're going to utilize just that card pool to try to build a functional commander deck. Now, is it going to be the best? Certainly not, but we're going to see what we can pull together. I have a lot of fun opening this. I'm a collector at heart, so the cards are just happy to go to the collection. But in addition to that, it helps me branch out, maybe play with some commanders that I wouldn't have considered before, some color pairings, and just flex a little bit of that deck building muscle as well and see what we put together. So without further ado, let's crack some packs. Let's open some Lord of the Rings and see what we pull. All right, let's rip into it. Lord of the Rings draft boosters. Gosh, I love this set. So excited to be back to it. I have opened quite a bit of this. It's been a while. It's been a little bit since we cracked some of these. I think the last we did was our pre-release kit. I think I got one of these, or bundles. No, pre-release kit for this. We do have a box topper, which could have some spice into it. So we'll see what this adds. We'll put this gingerly over here and slide these up to get zoomed in for all of the glory. And let's get to it here. Super, super excited. Love me the Lord of the Rings. Now, there's some really cool hits, but we'll keep our close eye also on any of the good stuff we can get through. We'll move through the commons pretty quickly here, but we'll take a look at the uncommons. A little bit more detail. Shadowfax, our first legendary creature horse. There's a Samwise. A man Samwise can be our commander. Pretty cool. All right. Sharky, Tyrant of the Sire. Legendary creature. First rare. Ooh, and a foil Gloin. Couple of quick options there. Full art land. And we're going. Awesome. I love this set. I love this set. Now, we do hope to see some cool, and by cool, I mean valuable pulls. We'll keep our eye out for those. Hopefully we can have some luck there. Gandalf's Doghair. Gandalf's Sanction. Fear Fire Foes. Glorfindel? What is this? Éomer, Marshal of Rohan. That's cool. Nice little full art action. Went with draft boosters, because I like draft boosters. That's just a preference. Just a preference. Set boosters would have been all right as well. We should have some pretty... We're going to have plenty of good legendary creature options here. I'm not worried about that at all. Mana fixing and some ramp, I think, should be okay. Ooh, Born Upon a Wind. Neat. Swamp. And the ring. Now, if we could see a one ring, I'm gonna be honest. One ring, that'd be pretty cool. Some Nazguls, maybe an Orcish Bee. That'd also be pretty cool. Look at this Greyhavens. Love it. Cool art. Love it. Ooh, we got something else peeking out back there. Shire Sharif. And Quick Beam, Upstart Ent. Loth. Excuse me. Is this a double Lotho? Wow, that would have been really weird, huh? I saw legendary creature. Lotho. Nice. Good little pull. That's a good potential option too. As well as something that would just fit if we're in those colors. That's a great card to fit in those colors. If you're not familiar, whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, you lose a life, but you make a treasure token. So it's a great way to ramp. It's just a little 2-1, but get it out early. Pretty good. Ah, the bats. Look at the bats. Butterbur. They're in keeping. Ooh, nice. Last March of the Ents. First mythic. The spell can't be countered. Draw cards equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control. And put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. That is cool. Alright. Good spell. Let's see what we find. Let's see what commander options we get in green. That is a neat one. Nice little pull there. The Rivalry. Lorith. Theragon. Horn of Gondor. And a Glorious Scale. Very nice. Trying to think if there's anybody I specifically want. You know what else? The other reason that I wanted to do... Oh, Luring Revealed. Good card. Good common. Same... Oh, thought that was something else. How about a March at the Black Gate from the Black Gate? How about a Grand? The Gatebreaker. Eomer. Lost Isle Calling. I don't have a Lord of the Rings focused commander deck, so this was one of the other reasons that I wanted to crack this set open. I am interested in that. Let's see if this ends up being the deck or not. Ah, friend Gandalf. He's such a friend of the Shire. Another Born Upon a Wind. Okay. Duplication. Rise of the Witch King. Stern Scolding. Nice. Gimli. And an Eowyn. Cool. Human Knight, legendary creature. Whoa. Dawn of a New Age foil. Mythic. Enters a battlefield with a hope counter for each creature you control. At the beginning of your end step, remove a hope counter from Dawn of the New Age. If you do, draw a card. Then if Dawn of the New Age has no hope counters on it, sacrifice it and gain 4 life. Very cool. Nice little snag there. We will always take a mythic rare foil. Saruman. Gollum's Bite. This makes me want to watch Lord of the Rings now. The Stone. This will be a good inclusion just to help for Graveyard Hate. Barad-dûr. Barad-dûr enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. Add 1. Then you can pay XX and 1 black, tap it, and amass some orcs. You can only activate if a creature died this turn. Which is kind of an interesting proposition, because if you can push in some damage, you know, and you don't want friends, your fellow table mates don't want you to make some orcs. They'll punch in a little bit of damage. Oh, Bill the Pony. And a Bilbo. Dundin Raiders. And Shadow of the Enemy. Exile all creature cards. Target player's graveyard. May cast spells from among those cards for as long as they remain exiled, and mana of any type be spent to cast them. Very cool. Another little mythic hit. I wouldn't mind if this box had a lot of mythics in it, I'm not gonna lie. Alright. Got something else kind of cool here. Oh, just another bats. Silly bats. It's an Urukai captain. Oop. Golem. Shagaret. Whenever he attacks, attach with one target equipment to it, then a master X is the number of equipment attached. Ooh, and a banish. Nice. Little removal spell in white there. Especially since it exiles the creature. It's nice. Alright, first third of the box done. Good stuff. Ring sight. Oh, I just screwed my piles up. Oh well. Golem Spite. Boromir. Cool. I just screwed my piles up. I put my commons in the uncommon slot. Trying to help myself when I sorted later. Strider. Here. There it is. There's a Nazgul. Very cool. Hey, Delighted Halfling. It's a nice little grab. Solid. 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 Wondering what green-black commanders there are, because I don't know. We probably won't be lucky enough to open another Nazgul. Don't know that. Honestly, I haven't opened a ton of draft boosters. Just don't think I've ever seen any duplicates of Nazgul. Be wrong. That'd be cool to play. Battle of Bywater. A Goblin Fire Leaper. Battle of Bywater's good. Destroy all creatures power 3 or greater. If we go on the low power side, token creation, something like that. Be interesting. The Tail Dundle. Unveil? I don't know. Her downfall. Council's Deliberation. Galadriel. The ring tempts you. If you choose a creature other than her, you scry 3. For every scry, you may reveal the top card of your library. If a land card is revealed this way, put it on the battlefield tapped. She's kind of an interesting option. Blue-green wouldn't be bad. Although, for some reason, I'm leaning a little towards black. We find a good option for it. Long list of the ends. But that might just because we've seen some good cards. Speaking potential options, Sauron, the Necromancer. Whenever it attacks, you exile a target creature card from graveyard, create a tapped and attacking token, except it's a 3/3 black wraith with menace. Beginning your end step, exile that token unless Sauron is your ring bearer. Very cool. Elephant. Fiery Inscription. Shadow Summoning. Stew. Ooh, Palantir. Beginning of your end step, put an influence counter on Palantir and scry 2. Target opponent, the target opponent may have you draw a card. If that player doesn't, you mill X cards for X is the number of influence counters. That player loses life equal to the total mana value of those cards. Interesting. And our foil is a foil plains. Alright, that's an interesting one. Maybe not something that we'll want to play here, but we could, maybe. So there's options. Do you want to maybe see a different mythic artifact? Prince? Gothmog? Array of Orcs? Banghorn? Cool. Fanghorn is neat. The old tree folk synergies. Old Man Willow. Shortcut to mushrooms. Ah, Frodo Baggins. Press the enemy. Goblin Fire Leaper. Denethor. Elrond. Mary. There could be some options in white-red for sure. Got a couple of good first strike as long as it's equipped. I've attacked with Mary and another legendary creature draw card. That's pretty interesting. That could be pretty aggressive. There's some decent equipment in the set too. Such as a Sting. The Glinting Dagger. Okay. Breaking Fellowship. Alright, 2 packs left here in the middle of the box. That might be a good option too. Thinking about it. Oath of the Grey Host. You cannot pass. Look. And another Dawn of the New Age. Okay, white. Especially if we could go wide. Kind of interesting. Or bag. A barrel. And Legolas. Ooh, boy. Now that's a rare, ladies and gents. That is a rare. Very nice. Orcish bees, baby. Yes. I will gladly take an Orcish Bowmaster to finish the middle portion of the box. Okay. I don't know. Ooh, you know what? Well, I don't know. We got some options. We got some cool options, I think. Shire Sheriff. There's a Voracious Fellbeast. Love the full art on that. Super cool. Another foray. Mines of Moria. Whoa, the one ring to rule them all. Ring tempts you, then each player mills cards equal to your ring bearer's power. Destroy all non-legendary creatures. Holy moly. Each opponent loses 1 life for each creature card in that player's graveyard. Yo, that's pretty sick. I don't know. Black seems very strong, just from what I'm seeing here. Obviously, pairing that up with a good secondary color is going to be important. But we have some options for some equipment. We have, white-black looks like a good potential option. Green-black, maybe. Yeah, or we go this guy, Sauron, the Dark Lord. Board, sacrifice a legendary artifact or legendary creature. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, amass Orcs 1. Whenever an army you control deals combat damage to a player, the ring tempts you. Whenever the ring tempts you, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 4 cards. Dude, he's cool. We might just have to do him just as like the face. Also, 3 colors. A 3-color commander certainly helps these. Done enough of these to know that we could sometimes use the assistance. Here's a Bilbo. There's a Took. Ooh, Samwise Gamgee. And a Bill Ferny. Okay, I mean, if we get a One Ring with a Sauron, like, we just have to jam? Just have to jam it that way? Feels like we probably do. Because that would be pretty cool for flavor reasons. Ooh, Shelob. Shelob? I don't know. Death Touch Ward 2. Other spiders you control have Death Touch Ward 2. Whenever another creature dealt damage this turn by a spider you control dies, create a token that's a copy of it. Except it's a food. She also is an 8/8 with Death Touch and Ward 2, which is like not nothing. Got a big old booty. Oh, Bill the pony. Hello, Bill. Book. There's old Gimli. War of the Last Alliance. Schleiber, for a legendary creature card, reveal it, put it in your hand. And shuffle, you get to do that twice, and then creatures you control gain double strike until end of turn, and the ring tempts you. That's an interesting one. Alright, about halfway through on this, just a couple of packs to go. The mind is erasing all these potential options. There's our Shadowfax again. Silborn. Faramir. Have we seen Faramir? I don't think so. Samwise, Starhearted. Foil. Samwise wanted to be foil. Horses. Arwen. Preve. What's this? Baradur. It's a really cool Baradur. Blart. Plains. I don't know. Blue, black, red. How do I feel about that? Be pretty good. You get access to card draw, which is always nice. Good card draw. What it's worth. One ring to rule them all non-foil. And a Hobbit's Sting. I just feel like we need a One Ring. Like, to be very fitting for this box with what we're trying to do. Well, let's see if it can happen. Bath Song. It's the Mouth of Sauron. When it enters the battlefield, target player mills 3 cards, then you mass certain sorceries in the player's graveyard. It's interesting. Bill Ferny, what's this? Ooh, Gandalf the Grey. If you cast an instant sorcery spell that choose one that hasn't been chosen. Tap or untap a permanent, deals 3 damage to each opponent. Copy. Choose new copies, or you put Gandalf at the top of its owner's library. That's cool. Let you reset him. That's kind of interesting. There's some kind of cool synergy with that. Quick Beam. Rising of the Day. Rosy Cotton. And another glowing. All right, 2 packs to go. Let's see what we can finish with. Come on, one more good mythic. One ring. One ring. Ring. I'm calling the ring. Near upkeep, the ring tempts you. Whenever you choose a creature as your ring bearer, you may pay 2 life, and if you do, draw a card. Cool. All right, one final chance here. Let's see. Good box. Good box. I am happy with it. I am indeed happy with it. Let's see if it's going to just finish things out for us. Even if not, we got some really good options for commanders. We got some good cards, I think, in lots of different colors. Entish Restoration, and finally, oh, Tom Bombadil. Those are 4 more Lord counters among sagas you control. Tom is hexproof and indestructible. Whenever a final chapter of a saga resolves, reveal cards to the top of your library to reveal a saga card. Put that card on the battlefield and rest at the bottom of your library in a random order. This ability triggers only once each turn. Now, this would be a little bit... I don't want to do this. This is cool. I don't know if we have enough saga support, but we do have quite a few, so it'd be interesting to take a look at it. I will see how many of those we have, actually. I don't really... I've done 5 color commanders before. I'm not too fond of that. Obviously, that opens up a lot of options. And part of the fun of building this is restricting the options a little bit, so... We'll see, though. We'll see. That's cool. That's a cool open. And I like the art. I like the frame. All right. Realms and Relics box topper. Let's see what goodies we have in here. See if this is anything super sweet. Castle Arvindale. And look at it. It is beat to heck. Look at that. That is really unfortunate. That is unfortunate. When it enters battlefield, tap, let's control planes, tap to add 1, pay 4, create a 1/1 white human creature token. This is a really cool art. Like, I really like the art on this card. It is super unfortunate that it is dinged to crap. The back of it look. Yeah, you can see them. You can see the crease marks. Man, that's cool. It's less cool that it's busted, but all right, that's what we got. We will jump over to Moxfield and see what our building options are. All right, my friends, it's been a little minute since we actually ended up doing this box break and getting into building the deck. I've been a little preoccupied with a few other things, but this is something I wanted to make sure, obviously, we come back to and have some fun basically throughout the break. And I'm sure I said this a handful of times. As soon as we opened Sauron, we pretty well knew that that was where we were going to land. So here's a few things about this deck. We actually have some really, really interesting things to build around with this. We got a pretty good suite of legendary creatures that can certainly play into a lot of different aspects of it. The ring tempting us ends up being a really huge just aspect to the deck. Obviously, Sauron also gives us the ability to have 3 colors and just really open up a whole lot of different stuff for us. So very excited to build this. The deck's probably a little clunky. The other piece of this and why this is just kind of a fun experiment or a fun thing to do with deck building is the fact that a 6-mana commander without a ton of support ramp can be a little difficult sometimes. And while the set is great for a lot of the different things that it's trying to do, the problem ends up being is that the set does suffer a little bit from the idea that it just doesn't have a ton of mana ramp. So we are going to look and we'll walk through, and sorry for all the pop-ups here, as we stay zoomed in, we will go and walk through the deck. I have a whole bunch of stuff here in the sideboard. I do think there's probably some tweaks and some shifts There are some decent cards that could probably fit as well, but obviously to get down to 100, we have to make some cuts. I think we could streamline the deck a little bit after a couple of games just to feel it out and feel where are the issues and what are we going to run into. But Sauron is really interesting. If you're not familiar, it has Ward. It is a 7/6, so it's a pretty good creature. Ward, sacrifice a legendary artifact or legendary creature, which is not necessarily the hardest thing to do in a game of Commander, but is pretty restrictive, so that is nice. So if we do invest the 6 mana, hopefully Sauron's getting on the battlefield and at least hanging out for a little bit. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, we amass Orcs 1s. That is the other key component of the deck. I want to focus on 2 pieces. The ring tempting us and getting value off of that, and amassing Orcs, because there is a really good opportunity here. We just make an absolutely monstrous Orc, and we want it to be able to do things. We want to attack with that often because we're able to amass the Orcs so consistently. And in addition to all of those things, whenever an army you control deals combat damage to a player, the ring tempts us. We'll talk about that here in a second. Whenever the ring tempts you, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 4 cards. So there's also this little bit of ability on our commander to get some card draw off of this. We're able to kind of dump our hand or be able to kind of push in some damage with that army, get some the ring, tempting us. We can then kind of continue to refill if we can get a lot of stuff out of her hand. So some good opportunities to do that. Let's talk about the ring tempting us here really quick, just in case if you aren't super familiar with what that does. Essentially has 4 stages. As soon as this starts, you get this emblem. Basically, once you do 4 ring temps, you will go down to the bottom and you have all of these things that will be active. And then after that, essentially every time the ring tempts you, you just pick a ring bearer, but all of these things stay active for you, which is pretty good. So the ring, your ring bearer is legendary, can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. So that's an interesting one. Ability to maybe sneak in some damage, get some extra value off of that, and maybe a few other creatures. Whenever your ring bearer attacks, draw a card, then discard a card. So we're doing a whole lot of looting here, which I actually really like in the deck. And I think will probably help smooth some of the draws out, will help smooth some of what we have going on. On the 3rd stage, or the 3rd time, whenever your ring bearer becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller sacrifices it at end of combat. This is probably the most impactful thing, I would say, out of the course of all of those steps. Mostly because it means that we can pretty well just constantly be attacking, and even if we're faced with bigger creatures, essentially, once it becomes blocked, even if our creature dies, even if that creature has first strike and is able to kill us, we're then forcing those sacrifices. So we can win a little bit of an attrition war here, potentially, obviously. And we have lots of ways to get the ring to tempt us. And then finally, at stage 4, whenever your ring bearer deals combat damage to a player, each opponent loses 3 life. This is a win condition, right? So if we can win a little bit of the attrition war and we can get our ring tempting us and put it on a decent creature that can either get some damage in, be unblockable, have some evasion, then we have the ability to really put some damage on all of our opponents, because it's each opponent losing 3 life. So that's pretty cool. So that's what we got rocking and rolling here. So we're going to go, again, we have 27 creatures, 10 sorceries, 13 instants. So we have pretty good, decent interaction. We do have 5 enchantments, 37 lands, and about 7 artifacts. If I had to say again up front what the deck is missing most, it's probably just the fact that we don't have a ton of ability to ramp. We're doing okay in the lands department, so I'll start there. We have Barad-dûr, which comes in tapped unless you control a legendary creature. Taps for 1 swamp, which is fine, but this is an amass Orcs on a stick. We are only able to do that if a creature died this turn, but this ends up being a great way to dump in some extra mana late into a game. We have the Great Hall, which can help us to cast legendary spells. We have a ton of those, so that's not going to be a concern. We have some lands, some mountains, some swamps here. I probably will have to kind of play the deck and feel it out, but I think generally this is about where we want to be. We have Mines of Moria, which we can, again, it adds a mountain, but in addition, we can pay for, exile 3 cards, and create 2 treasure tokens. That's an opportunity for us. Shire Terrace helps us to find what we need, so a little bit of fixing. Kind of the same thing here with Grey Havens. We're able to scry and then add 1 mana of any color among legendary creature cards in your graveyard. Again, this will not be a concern if we have the ability to do that. Probably where the deck thrives the most is interaction and the ability to remove things. Let's talk about some impactful creatures here as we walk through. We had a really nice gauntlet of good creatures that kind of span. We have a decent curve overall. We'll show that here in a second. 27 creatures feels probably fine. We want some board presence, but again, a lot of our board presence is going to come from amassing our army. So that is pretty cool. So we have a Bilbo here, retired burglar. When it enters or leaves, we're getting tempted by the ring, which is great. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, we create treasure token. So there's some opportunity here where things can't block him potentially. If we make him our ring bearer, we can make some treasure tokens. So a pretty good creature in the grand scheme of things. Same thing with Bill Ferny here, making some treasure tokens. Elrond is interesting because one of the other sub-themes that we have is scrying. And I'm going to just come over to this, and I know I started to talk about Elrond, but I want to talk about the scry component too, because we do have a little cheeky enchantment here that if we can see early or even mid-game, can be pretty good. Lost Isle Calling is 1 and a blue that says whenever you scry, put a verse counter on Lost Isle Calling. You pay 6, you exile it, you draw a card for each verse counter. So a good way to draw some cards, especially in a pinch. If it had 7 or more verse counters on it, take an extra turn after this one. Activate only as a sorcery. This is an opportunity, and we are going to scry potentially quite a bit. So this is really cool. I wanted to include that. There's some good synergies that you'll see. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind as well. Again, we're amassing orcs, getting tempted, and supplementally, in certain situations, we're also wanting to scry. Scry's good, so we always want to be able to do that. We get a little extra value if that's out there. So Elrond can scry. If multiple creatures enter, we're getting tempted by the ring, so perfect there. We have a little bit of human synergies as well, just because we are going to go ahead and play the Horn of Gondor. This is pretty good, great mana sink. Can help to widen our board out as well, and I don't think that's a terrible thing at all. We have a good section of humans here inside of our creatures, and a few ways to make a couple more. So Éomer here can essentially trigger additional combats. Éomer of the Rider Mark can help to create some additional 1/1, so not too bad. We have our friend Gandalf here. Flash can cast sorcerer spells as though he had flash, so this is pretty nice. Whenever the ring tempts you, if you choose a creature other than Gandalf, you draw yourself a card. So again, some synergies with that. We actually have a pretty decent way of drawing a lot of cards. We have Gandalf the Grey here, which has a whole bunch of different stuff that he can do, but instants or sorceries. And we're pretty well stacked on those, so we should have pretty good access to these. Have a deal some damage, tap or untap a permanent, copy an instant or sorcery spell, which is pretty important for us. So pretty good top-end creature. We have Gimli, pretty good. Gloin, helping us to make some treasure tokens, and we're going to play a bunch of historic spells. So artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic. We have a decent section of those, especially creatures. So we should be able to make some treasure tokens, which is pretty nice. We had to include Gollum, of course. Whenever it leaves the battlefield, it tempts you, and then we can sacrifice a creature and return Gollum from graveyard to your hand. Do this as a sorcery, cheap creature to play. The good part about this, again, is we're going to amass orcs. So we can sack the orcs, we can amass the orcs. We're going to do this and have some fodder in addition to potentially some 1/1 counters, or excuse me, some 1/1 human soldier creature tokens. Gorbag can come in here and again help us to draw some cards, create some treasure tokens. Obviously, we need some filler level creatures to kind of get onto the battlefield. Not too bad about that. Gothmog enters here, amass orcs 1. I like this one the most because creature tokens you control have death touch. So with the 1/1 humans we're making, plus our amassing of orcs, this is pretty good. And I fully expect if we get into some games and are able to get some of those synergies going, playing this ends up becoming a pretty significant target because it's a great way to either prevent some folks from attacking us and or trying to push in some damage and getting some profitable trades for ourselves. We have a Grima here, the Worm Tongue, which is nice. Opponents can't gain life. Sacrifice another creature. Target player loses 1 life. The sacrifice creature was legendary. We amass orcs 2. Because we're tempting the ring so much, we can tempt the ring to put it onto our orcs to make it legendary potentially, and then have some nice synergies there, and then amass orcs again. So some cool little plays. Again, we're amassing orcs. This can then help us to do some other things. Untap that creature, gains haste, so that's cool. Haunted the Dead Marshes, a scry ability, and a returnable creature, which is also important. I like the Uruk-hai Captain here. Menace, if one or more 1/1 counters is put on an army, goblin, or orc you control, you put that many plus 1/1. So if you can get this out early and amass, you can make a pretty big goblin army, which is cool. Had to include Mirkwood Bats, just because we got it, and it's a great creature. Nazgul is here, had to include that as well. That's pretty neat. Nim Rodell Watcher is an interesting one because whenever we scry, this can't be blocked. This ability triggers only once each turn, but again, if we can play this creature, get some scry and a ring tempting, we're actually to punch in quite a bit of damage. So not going to be the stickiest of creatures ever or most impactful, but we're scrying a lot. That should help us to punch in some damage. That could be pretty good. Oliphant here is really nice because we can give something else trample. So that's a pretty important piece. We did get an Orcish Bowmasters, so happy to have this. Always a great creature to have on the battlefield. And a game changer, of course. Saruman the White, Ward 2. Whenever you cast your second spell, we're amassing, so not too bad there. We have Sauron the Necromancer, which can help to bring things back. I wasn't too sure about this. It's a cool effect. Could be kind of interesting. We are exiling things from graveyards, so that's a good ability to have. How often are we going to be able to do this? Well, we're going to be able to make Sauron our ring bearer. I'm not too concerned about that. More importantly, though, it has to not die, and that I feel like is probably going to happen somewhat consistently, especially if we play this a little bit later in the game. But it is what it is. Maybe we could sneak an attack in and get some value there. And obviously, being able to create a copy of something that has a good enters effect is pretty strong. But I just see this being targeted pretty quickly. The Mouth of Sauron enters. Target player can mill some cards. We then amass orcs, where X is the number of instant sorcery cards in that player's graveyard. So this is pretty cool. Again, we can kind of use a little bit of graveyard in our advantage. We have the Troll. We have the Uglik of the White Hand. Whenever another creature you control dies, put a 1/1 counter. That creature was a goblin or orc. We make 2. Again, probably going to be doing that a lot. We're going to be sacrificing our army here, which seems pretty consistent. And then Voracious Fellbeast, just a good top end creature. Not a bad thing again to make our ring bearer, because again it will have a little bit of evasion with flying. But more importantly, it's forcing every opponent to sack a creature, so a little bit of a removal on a stick, which is not too bad. Let's get to some impactful sorceries here. Arwen's Gift, not bad. We're going to have legendary creatures and a whole bunch of them, as you were probably noticing there. So this isn't too bad. We're scrying and we're drawing. We want to do that. This deck feels like it wants to see a lot of cards, and I think we're going to have a good opportunity to do that. Breaking the Fellowship, not bad. We're helping to eliminate something and also get the ring tempting us. Claim the Precious, same thing. Fearfire Foes, very similar. I like the ability. This is probably our best kind of like kill everything spell or pseudo kill everything. Just 1 damage to each other creature with the same controller. So maybe be able to eliminate some tokens on the other end. Foray of Orcs can be really, really good because again, later into the game, we should have amassed pretty well, so this could be pretty big and deal a nice chunk of damage. Flash the Balrog, we need a way to destroy things, and again, gonna have creatures. We're gonna have amassed orcs that we can pitch to this, so that is pretty nice. Lorien Revealed, gotta play this card, just too good, drawing 3 cards. We have Mordor Muster here, again, draw a card, lose a life, and amass orcs. Great. World's End, we can make the Human Soldier here, and also draw some cards. And then Ring Sight, actually tutor, so pretty interesting. This says the ring tempts you, search your library for a card that shares a color with a legendary creature you control, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. The nice part is, because the ring is tempting us, if we don't have a legendary creature out, we can make one and then help to kind of filter and find something that's going to be impactful for us. Now, obviously, if we have a Bilbo or one of these other multicolored creatures out, this just gets even better, right? And really opens it up. So that is nice. And it is any card that shares a color. So we can find a removal spell, we can find a card draw spell, or something else impactful at that point. Over to the instance, you're going to see a whole lot of interaction here which I do like from the deck. I think the deck wants to keep things and find opportunities, get stuff off the battlefield, and try to punch in some damage. So Bitter Downfall here, Cast and Fire, really good answer to some impactful artifacts because it is an exile effect. That is nice. Council's Deliberation, drawing a card, and then whenever you scry, we can kick this from our graveyard and draw another card. So a little bit of graveyard kind of synergy here, a little recursion, if you will, that gets us some extra value. Glorious Gale, counter target creature, not bad. It's a legendary spell, Ring Tempts You. So countering a commander, for instance, get some extra value. Golem Spite here, again, simple, quick removal spell early on in the game for a simple 1 black mana. Pay 4, Ring Tempts You. That's not bad, right? We can always have that in our back pocket if we need it. Hithian Knots, tap a creature, scry, and draw. Can't think of anything better. Got Club to take care of something. Isolation to take care of something. Nasty End, again, we're going to be able to sacrifice our orcs probably. If we've tempted with the ring, we'll get the 3 cards off of this for 2 mana, which is pretty good. Press the Enemy is an interesting one. Return target spell or non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Something's going to play something super huge and impactful. Boom, we can kick it back, or we can get rid of a non-land permanent. So I like that. Whenever you may cast an instant or sorcery spell with equal or lesser mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. So this can be kind of a little bit of a 2-for-1 and really help us out. So bounce something, cast something else, maybe a removal spell, push in that damage. The Ambush here was kind of something I had on the fringe that I was considering sideboard or not. But what I like here is the ability to give something Death Touch and also make a food token. That's never terrible. That helps us with some life gain if we need it, if we're in a really tight game. But being able to give something +1/+2 and Death Touch just helps to either push through some damage, get a good trade in our favor, and or represent a good combat trick on a block if we need to do that as well. We have Smite here, which is pretty good, and then Soothing of Smeagol. Target non-token creature to its owner's hand, and again, getting tempted. I like this at instant speed because I think there can be some tricks there that can work out in our favor. And then we'll go down to the artifacts. So we're going to run Horn of Gondor just because I do think this is a great mana sink. We have a handful of humans. We're able to make a few humans with our spells. We have an inverted envelope, so a little bit of ramp here, a little bit of color fixing. The Lembas, I like this as well, shuffling it in, scrying, of course, and then also drawing a card. Mirror here is interesting. This is scry on a stick, and then also draw the card. I fully expect we'll really almost never have to pay 5 for this, which is pretty cool. But it is each legendary creature you control. Palantir of Orthanc is really interesting. Put an influence counter, scry 2. So again, we're doing that. Then target opponent may have you draw a card. Pretty interesting. If that player doesn't, we mill, where X is the number of influence counters, and then that player loses life equal to total mana value. So I could see some fun and interesting scenarios where this is a dicey game, and we have some pretty mana hungry spells, especially creatures wise, that this could get pretty interesting. So we have the stone here, which I like, exiling things, and it's only opponents, and then of course some graveyard hate, so I think a good inclusion. And then a Wizard's Rockets was another one that I played around with, but I like this because it does help us to fix some mana, and let's put it in the graveyard, we get to end up drawing a card, so it does kind of replace itself, which is nice. And then finally finishing up with the enchantments, Call of the Ring. I think this just makes sense. Tempting each other, we're tempting each upkeep, which is nice. Whenever you choose a creature's ring bearer, you can pay 2 life. If we do, draw a card. I think that's a happy trade-off that we'll make in this deck. So plenty of card draw. We already talked about Lost Isle Calling. That'd be pretty cool. March to the Blackgate. Just had to play this for massing of our orcs and getting a big orc army. 1 ring to rule them all is fantastic, and really one of our only board wipes. I think kind of technically our only board wipe. I guess you could sort of say Fear Fire Foes, but that's very situational. But this is really nice, right? Each opponent loses 1 life for each creature card in that player's graveyard. So playing this kind of late into a game can also be a way to kind of close things out. And then the Bath Song, we're able to draw cards, discard cards. Then we can shuffle any number of target cards from graveyard into our hand and add that extra mana. That is really nice because we are personally self-milling a decent amount potentially in some games. So being able to find this and then shuffle some stuff back in be pretty impactful. So let me know what you think of the deck. Like I said, really good suite of interaction. Got, again, a ton of legendary creatures. We're able to scry a lot. We're able to draw a lot of cards. So I very much can see this deck being a ton of fun. Once we're able to put it together, there is a good suite of potential sideboard cards here that some certain things that I thought about potentially keeping in or moving out, right? There's a handful of creatures that can also do what we're looking for. Like Black Breath could be an interesting one, again, if we need a little bit more interaction or board wipes. But a few I want to call out. Rising of the Day was an interesting one that I'm really considering bringing in, right? It almost always is going to give our legendary creatures some additional value, right? Because we're going to have a ton of them, plus we're going to be tempting with the ring a lot. Having creatures have haste is also pretty good for us, right? If we're able to play something main phase, make some orcs or something, and then attack, that could be pretty good. So I think this is a strong consideration. What else did we have here? There was one other that I think really probably does need to be in the deck. Okay, I found it here. Gimli's Fury. This is an interesting one because the ability for 2 mana to give +3/+2, pretty good, right? This could be a combat trick, especially on defense, that ends up getting a good trade. More importantly, though, if we're able to grow a huge orc army, we want it to have trample, right? And so being able to make it a ring bearer, then give it trample, could be really, really good. It felt like this was very situational, though, so which is why I did not include it, and we had much better other opportunities for interaction. But when I think about trying to close games out, that's probably not a bad idea for us to have something that can do that. So again, a few games here to get played, put this together and run some games, I think will really help us to see a few of the downfalls, right? A few of the things that we might need some brush up on. If I had to really make any changes, again, a lot of it's just going to be helping us to kind of be able to make a little bit more mana, right? A little bit better mana generation. We have a few good things. We have a few things that we can do there. Obviously, if we could get the ability to tutor a few other things. I think we're drawing a ton of cards, which is really nice, but the deck does feel maybe a little mana hungry, and I think that is where we need to see some improvement. So I think other than that, with what we built, pretty cool. I think as we go and take a look at our considering, there's a few different options. Let's sort this by color just really quickly. Okay, quick sort by color here. You can see our breakdown, pretty good. Blue, pretty heavy in black with, again, decent all around. Some good multicolored creatures here, doing okay. As we go down and take a look, we did have plenty of options. I also felt like this color combination was amongst the best. One of the other ways that I did think about going to build this deck was actually Galadriel blue and green. There is quite a bit of synergy for this. Some cool options to be able to do, some impactful legendaries as well. So I think as you take a look at this pool, I'm going to have linked our Mox field down in the description. If you want to take a look at this, you can go over and see everything that we pulled here in considering, plus obviously in the main deck and the sideboard, and see, would you have built it a little bit differently? I think there are quite a few options. Blue felt pretty decent for the most part, and we used quite a bit. I think there's some good ways to tempt. I think, there's some pretty decent green stuff in here as well. Obviously, we could have went with Tom. I like to try as best I can to stay away from 5-color commanders, especially with the lack of fixing that we had. But there is some pretty unique and interesting ones in here. Green-black was also a strong consideration, but Sauron's just kind of too cool for us not to build around, in my opinion. So, pretty interesting. Last thing I want to just touch on here really quickly is let's take a look at mana value and see how are we doing on the curve. So 7 1-drops, 21 2-drops, which is pretty good. We have 12 3-drops, 13 4-drops, and then we kind of ramp up. We do have a little bit on the top end here, but not too terrible, I guess. I guess the really big consideration here is, of course, 6 mana commander. We want this to get out. this gets targeted like right away, we are a little sad, certainly, because we want our opponents to cast spells and make our orcs really, really big. But if, you know, this hits the battlefield and then we pass and the next player just immediately eliminates it, we would be pretty sad. But not too bad. I think this is a decent curve, could play pretty well, and certainly has some teeth behind it, like I said, from an interaction suite. So let me know what you think. If you want to go build it, Moxfield down below, go take a look at it. These are always a ton of fun. And this set, plenty of legendaries to pick from. So if you go a different direction, I don't blame you at all. I think there's lots of different ways that you could certainly build, but having the 3-color commander is always pretty nice. And we got a cool art to boot from the opening. So if you enjoyed these, let me know. Hit that subscribe button for us. We've done a handful of these already. We have a whole playlist of all of our commander content and some other interesting box openings and builds coming up to you as well. So we'll jump in and you know, maybe we upgrade this at some point. We'll see. We shall see. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. Thanks so very much. Likes and comments are appreciated. Go check out our other content. If you enjoy box openings, we do those every Wednesday. If you enjoy MTG Arena content, a whole ton of that. Big playlist for both of those. And just like to crack packs, have some fun, build some commander decks, and enjoy the game of Magic. So thanks for watching. Sure, catch you next one. Peace.